Hang on. Right, we're under the car. I'm having a trying to get the fuel tank out. So we've taken the exhaust off and then the heat shields. This is a really weird fuel tank. I've not seen one like this before. So it's got like a shallow part this side and a deep part this side, and a fuel pump this side. So very strange. It's a small case diff, which I was quite surprised about because I read that the 6-cylinders had medium case diffs in them, but there's a small case. And I've seen diffs worse than that before. They're quite thick, you know, you can clean it all up. But the tank's fine. I'll have to get the camera the right way up. Yeah, that was me butchering the exhaust to get it off. I haven't got much room under here, so it's a bit tight. The floors seem pretty good. I mean, there's little scabs here and there. I have to sort of poke around. That sill looks like it's going to have some work in it, but I knew that side was worse. Bits like this will clean up. I've got to get the prop off now. Once the prop's off, I can disconnect all the fuel pipes and get the fuel tank out, and then I think what I'll do is drop the whole rear beam. So disconnect the handbrake, brake pipes and the wear sensors. Once the prop shaft's off, I can drop the whole lot down, because that's going to need, I've got other rear beams, but I'll give it a once over and see if we can clean that up. And then at least that way I can get to the floor. But what I've done now is I've sprayed everything with penetrating oil, so I can get to start on doing the bolts. I'll leave them for today. I've had enough for today. So this is, it's getting a bit more involved. I don't really want to start taking loads of bits off because you end up with bits everywhere. But I've got to, once I get the tank out, I'm so restricted for space under here. I need to jack it up higher. So if I've got the rear beam off, it'll make it a lot lighter. I'll get the big jack in here and jack it up more, and yeah, have a bit more room to work. I've been cutting the exhaust with an angle grinder, and it's not much fun in this restricted space. So I'd rather have a bit more height. I'm just taking the fuel tank out. So I've got the access panel off under the rear seat. Normally there's two, but it just seems to be one on this. I suppose it's a pickup and a return and then breathers. So I'll just disconnect all those and then undo the filler where the I don't know if it's through there, was that the vent? I don't know. I'll get underneath and get the filler hose off. Alright, that's the tank out. Some of the bolts were a bit rusty, but it wasn't that bad. I used to own a Peugeot 205, and that was a lot newer than this, and every bolt was a fight to get it out. Right, you can see already that there's the other side's going to be a lot worse. Let me get underneath and have a look at that. Yeah, I think the rear beam's going to be the next thing to take off. But under here, it's like pretty good. It's only where there's brackets. Everywhere there seems to be a bracket, there seems to be a bit of rust. So I'm going to drop the subframe, take it off and stick it outside. I don't think the rain's going to affect it too much. And then I'm going to put the car on some trestles, so we've got a bit more height then, because it's just too low at the moment. The prop shaft was a bit of a pain to get off, but it came off in the end. So I'm going to disconnect the oil brake fluid pipes. I've done the wiring to the brake sensors. I've disconnected the handbrake cable, so I've just got to pull them through, and I should be able to drop these bolts and disconnect the anti-roll bar, and it should just, oh, and the diff, there's a bolt for the diff, and then it should drop down. I've just taken the rear beam out, which it wasn't too tricky, it was just more awkward really. It is quite a mess. The only issue really was one of the handbrake cables didn't want to come out of the sleeve where it goes through into the car. So the idea was to drop the beam down a bit and then I'd have more access to get to it, but it didn't really happen like that. The beam just came down. And this side, I can jack the car up with the old brace where the beam clips go. I couldn't the other side because it's so rotten around there. So I've had to put a couple of bits of wood, so it was a bit sort of, didn't really want to get underneath it. So that's why I used a large rod just to pry on top of the rear beam while the back was supported under the diff with a jack. It's really heavy, this is. So I might strip it down into, take the diff out, and just make it a bit more manageable. It's just going outside anyway. But at least now I'm going to have to get some better form of support if I'm going to be working under there. I'm not working under there with a couple of bits of wood and a jack and that on a rotten bit of sill. So that will be my next job. Right, onto the welding. Yeah, I'm going to cut the end bit off this. I've just opened this up so I can get access into here. There's a lot of dust and dirt. I'm going to get the hoover in there, but I'll treat everything in there once I've welded it all. So I'm just doing it in sections at the moment. I've got this bit to go like that. I've got to left it long so I can cut it down. Once I've got that bit done, I can get this bit in, so I'll have the shape of that and I'll know where to stop. Then I can clean up in here, treat, and then weld this back on again. And then just clean up bits and pieces inside.